The mother speaks about her son who is diagnosed with autism, due to which he is facing a lot of issues in school. My son tries to do funny things to get others' attention, but his classmates make fun of him. He is not mature like other students his age. My younger child is more mature than him. He refuses to go to school now and asks me to change the school again, which is difficult. He asks me why this is happening to him only. How long will it continue? How can it be helped? I ask you whether this counselling could help him. First and foremost, we need to understand raising a special child comes with certain responsibilities. But prior to responsibilities is the acceptance that a parent needs to have about the child. And this is very hard initially. So we talk about the child facing a lot of issues in school, but the deeper crisis is in the parent herself coming to terms with the fact that the child is different from the rest. Now, before we go on to the specific details of this problem, let us understand the generalness of the situation. By generalness, I mean the general ordeal that a parent has to have in order to raise a child. And we are talking about any parent, not necessarily a parent of a child with autism. The reason why I'm talking about the generalness is slowly you will begin to understand the generalness of the situation that she has been talking about. The more we dwell on the specifics of the situation, which is necessary to a certain extent, we digress from the fact that this child needs attention and we throw more light upon the condition, in this case the condition of autism. Now, what is the generalness? The generalness is any child being raised requires a certain attention towards him or her. So a child in a certain instance could be obese. Another child could suffer from some disability. It could be a loss of vision. So when we talk about specific scenarios like this, any child is facing some challenges when they go into mainstream education. So there would be a certain level of discrimination that is faced by the child. Now this is an ordeal that the parents have to put up. And even if we don't talk about really strong cases like this, it could be a simple fact that the child is not understanding math easier than the other kids, as easily as the other kids. So there could be situations, there will always be situations for any parent to deal with their child. So we come to the understanding that every child is unique, and although we talk about children in a general sense, every child is presenting a very unique possibility of growth and a very unique challenges for the parent. Only when it is something much talked about, like in this case autism, we give a lot of weight to the situation as such. We talk about the condition of autism, and then the parent feels really challenged by the category itself. Basically, the term autism itself is something that is weighing very heavily on her mind. So this makes her, in a certain sense, deficient to help her child assimilate to his or her surroundings. Now, what is most required for the child is the ability to assimilate, the ability to deal with these challenges when people discriminate him or make him feel differently. So the thing to remember is that it is not the reason for which the child is being discriminated which is important. We need to shift our attention towards discrimination as such and dealing with that. And this is something that the parent has to first understand and then eventually make the child understand about what it is to be singled out from the rest, what it is to be alienated from the rest of the group. So these are challenges that the parent has to come to terms with or understand, and eventually begin to transmit their understanding to the child both by behavior and words. So I wouldn't say that the counseling has to be given to the child, since the caregiver plays a primal role in molding a child's opinion about the world, it is necessary that the parent herself understands what the situation entails for them. It is not the situation of the child being diagnosed with autism, which is very important. Most importantly, how can the child assimilate to the surroundings, and eventually the parent, once she begins to understand that there are different concerns in life for which a child can be kept apart from the rest. Like in the case when I mentioned a child could be born blind, the another child could be facing some other challenge. So all these children face the common issue of being mocked at, being treated differently. So when the parent understands this and eventually makes the child understand that this is how life is, so this is how people are, because everyone is born with a certain imperfection. This imperfection is yours. There could be another imperfection in another child, and you could be in the other end trying to look at that child in that angle. So when this autistic child looks at a child who is visually impaired, the child would be along with the rest. So this is the understanding that first has to come, and this softens the idea that my child is autistic. The reason why the softening is important is because, as I mentioned earlier, when we throw the spotlight upon the condition, we are not talking about the real issue of discrimination. Let us soften the condition and understand how discrimination in itself can be helped. When the discrimination towards any child is understood in a better fashion, when the parent understands how a child can learn to steel himself against others' insults, get emotionally mature and stronger, and it's okay if he has certain limitations. It is okay because another child would have other limitations. So this kind of understanding should be first attained by the parent herself and then eventually transmitted to the child. I think that would help the issue rather than talk more about the condition.